Oh, I'm so excited for today's guest. She is a multi hyphenate in the truest sense of the word. Her essay entitled Why You're Not Married became the most viewed article on the Huffington Post ever. She has written multiple best selling books, including her memoir, I Love You and I'm Leaving You Anyways, and Why You're Not Married Yet. It's a funny, honest, and insightful guide to relationships. In addition to being a best selling author, relationship expert, and TV host, she is the creator of one of my favorite shows. She's the creator, executive producer, and co-showrunner of the Honest Collective's hit dramedy Unprisoned, starring Kerry Washington and my man Delroy Lindo. The second season premiered this July on Hulu. Please welcome my girl, Tracy McMillan. Hey, Tracy.
Tracy.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me.
How you been? You've been busy.
Busy. I embrace it. I'm like, yes, thank you. And I'm willing to embrace even more. That's what I was taught, and that's what I practice.
I love it. And I'm so happy for all your success. And you've
Thank
always been a supporter of me. So I thank you
you.
for
Right.
joining us today.
We're
Right,
gonna
Erica?
work together.
Yes, girl. Thank you for being here. I love a female showrunner, a co-female showrunner.
Very rare.
There's not enough of us.
That's
Exactly.
right. That's right. You know what it's about.
Oh, honey.
Well, let's jump into today's grown ass topic. We're diving into finding your passion. As grown ass women, society has assigned us a lot of roles, a lot of should haves that we could have been told to follow. But what is it that we want to do? We are often forget to ask ourselves what drives us, what lights us up, whether it's being a multi hyphenate professional, a loving mother, or chasing the dream of becoming a star on OnlyFans. Whatever it is, the world is yours, and it's never too late to find and pursue your passion.
That's right.
Tracy, let's start with you. What is your passion, and how did you find it?
I think the joke answer is my passion is what I've always gotten in trouble for doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I would always be in some workplace. So before I got to writing television and books and all that, I worked in television news for 16 years. And before that, I was in college. And before that, I was in high school. And what was I always in trouble for? I was sitting there talking to you about your life and your relationships and what was going on with you. And I sort of felt that my ministry in the newsroom was to help people with their relationships and then write the news. That was just like the secondary reason I was there. So I'm like, what would you do for free? What would you do all day long? When do you lose track of time? When do you feel most useful? These are how I found, and what it was for me was relationships. How do I help people do relationships, heal their generational trauma, heal what's going on so that they can have a healthy, functioning, like secure primary attachment, you know? And everything I've done is toward that end.
But how long did it take you to figure that out? Like, around what age did you figure that out?
Well, I'm going to say, what age did I allow myself to dream that that could be my all day, every day? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
it's like I've been knowing that's what I love to do, but I always thought I had to have a thing over here, which was how I made money, and that I had to have two parts. But each thing was like buildings because I'm thinking about when I had my baby and I was 32 and I had been in foster care, grown up. I didn't even know the a level of like attachment wound I had until I had a baby. And then
Wow.
the work that I had to do to sort of like put Humpty Dumpty together again, because there was nothing there. I had been put in foster care at the age of 3 months. All right, so I had a mother for 12 Saturday nights. Now, nobody is giving up their baby when it's going great, right? So that means those 12 Saturday nights were not good. So I was like, how am I going to do this? There was no like parenting 529 to like dip into to be my son's mother in the beginning. So I had to fill that up. Well, in the process of filling that up, I realized I sort of had a talent for understanding relationships and seeing how our developmental stuff as babies, but also as a mother parenting was the same thing that was happening in my relationships. I'm hetero, so in my relationships with men. And so once I started making all those connections, then I started just sharing it with other people. So there's two things about that. One is you teach what you need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody's out there teaching you something, this is what they most need to learn. Not they
Mm-hmm.
got it, more like they're trying to get it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that was one thing. And the second thing was as I grew myself, I moved deeper and deeper into what it was that only I could do. Because you want to find what can only I do?
Yep.
That's like purpose for me. Like I'm uniquely situated to do the work that I'm doing in terms of helping Black families heal from generational trauma. Because
Mm-hmm.
I've lived it. You know what I mean? I just look at mass incarceration and foster care as, you know, the same mechanisms of slavery that we are trying to like release ourselves from. That's why I called the show Unprisoned. It's about trying to get free.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, my dad is in prison for years upon years upon years, marking hash marks on the wall. Well, I'm in foster care marking hash marks on the wall. Like those
Wow.
two things go together. So as I healed that stuff in myself, it became a thing that I could offer to other people too. And then as I kind of followed my nose, I did not have a grand plan. I just sort of did what I was most passionate about. And then I also learned how to do what people told me, not like because they were telling me to do it, but because I always saw a little tinker bell. Like sometimes you're talking to somebody and the little bell goes off and it goes ding a ling a ling. And you're like, oh, I'm supposed to do that. And I didn't
Right.
ask questions. Can I do that? I stopped all that. I don't take orders from my mind. My brain is an employee. It is not a boss. You know what I'm saying? I
See, you
take,
different, Tracy.
I was
I,
gonna
I
Because
say.
guess
see,
so.
you special. See, because with me and Erica, I think I'm still trying to find my passion. Erica, what's your passion?
Well, I was gonna say that's such a unique superpower to have, Tracy, because I think
Yeah.
again, coming from your background, especially, you could have become a people pleaser. Do you know what I mean? Like,
And for a while I was,
yes. And
sure.
I think a lot of us as women are, whether it's daddy issues to your point, like my father is adopted as well, but he's become a very wonderful leader of our family, maybe to your point of like trying to undo the things that he didn't have. Do you know what I mean? So like, people who've gone through certain things and either lean into them and make them a crutch, or they can make them their superpower and overcome them. And I think that's so impressive that you've done that, whether it's been over time or not. I think for me, to answer your question, Loni, I think, yes, I think there's the art of the pivot. That's what I call it. So like for
Mhm.
me, I, went down a road of, going to college. I went to UCLA and I was going to, be maybe, like my parents are very bougie, as Lonnie always jokes with me. So, there's expectations there. And so, I did all the school and graduate school. And then I'm like in a cubicle at like
Mhm.
25 going like, what the fuck am I going to do?
Exactly.
I can't do this the rest of my life. You know what I mean? And so the pivot to writing, even though I grew up in LA and was so anti Hollywood, because to me,
Mhm.
writers were like, what does that mean? But the minute I was in a writer's room, the first day, I was like, oh, this is my shit. Like, this is me.
Yeah.
This is what I'm supposed to do. And so I was lucky to find it at a time where I'm like, I can do this. And this is going to drive me. This is what I want to do. Like you said, this is me getting in trouble in the back of the class when I was a kid talking all day. You know what I mean? Like, this
Mhm.
is my jam. And so then, things have happened. This career is not an easy one, as I'm sure you know, Tracy. We all know we have to, even though we love it. I mean, the writing part is great. The
Exactly.
the people part is different. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So depending on what room you're in, it could be heaven, it could be hell. So to
Mhm.
navigate this is a whole different thing. But as things go on, you still have to practice the art of the pivot. So Lonnie and I, for example, are doing this podcast because we were on strike. So, pivoting to the podcast of it all is another thing of following your passion. Does your passion have to be in a certain format? No, it's us telling our
No,
stories. And now it's like we're telling it on a podcast.
that's right.
Yeah, but
Totally.
Tracy, this is the thing. I was looking up finding your passion, and we're trying to help, especially grown ass women.
Mhm.
What would be your advice for a grown ass woman who maybe is feeling down, who
Right.
doesn't feel like they found their passion right
Right,
now, what would you
right.
tell them?
Well, I'd say all my expansion is always about my personal something I had to conquer personally. So I would go to, like, as a writer, I always tell people, write about what you're trying to hide from everybody.
Mm.
Write about what you don't want anyone to know about you. Like, where is that? That's
Mm.
where you are going to have the most to give, in that place that you're most afraid of. And as you work through that, as you work through whatever that is, the thing that you're most afraid of. Now, I'm hearing you, Erica, and I'm thinking, like, I didn't have any parents, not really. I mean, my dad's in prison. I don't have a mom. That was kind of a great thing in this one way. There were zero expectations on me. I could surpass my expectations because the bar was on the floor. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? All I
Yeah.
had to do
Hmm.
was step over the bar. I'm like, woo, woo, look at me. So I think you go to where your deepest wound is. So
Yeah.
I would start there and then either give from that or heal that, and then watch as you focus on expanding yourself in that way. And there's always going to be a belief in there. This
Right.
idea that there's something you can't do or you're not enough or whatever, that's what in the psychology game is called a schema. It's like you are going to bring that belief. Look at the beliefs that you have brought to every single situation. This is the beauty of middle age. It's like I'm going to be 60.
Oh
Shut
my God, you
up
look great.
right now.
You look
I
fucking great, sis.
mean, what?
Come on now.
Oh my God, 60 goals for
That's a
sure.
success money. That's that
Hell yeah.
I
showrunner
mean,
money.
there is a little of that, no
I
lie.
mean,
But I do think that the beauty of middle age is like time has told. Like you get a body of data to look at. Like what did I believe at every step of the way?
to that point, do you think this was who you've always been, or do you think there was a shift at some point where it kind of clicked and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to let my past be my prologue?
Yes, but I'm always saying that, and then I find some new area where my past was my prologue, and then that to me is not a sign of my defeat or my sure,
Sure.
like this is the truth about me. That is a sign of, oh, yay, I made it conscious now. Now I'm aware of it. Once you see it, it starts to break up. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? It's like
Mm-hmm.
the minute you name a thing as what it is, like, oh, that's a pattern of belief. That is not a governing truth. Because guess what? There are no governing truths. I mean, gravity, you know? But like, other than that, you can make yourself up. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yep.
most people don't believe that because there's so many people around them, or circumstances, or institutions, or oppressive systems that tell you this is all there is, but you have to be able to think past that. I always look at the example, or my metaphor is like a dog. God bless dogs, right? But
Yes.
every day they bark at the mailman. Every day they're like, he's gonna rob us.
Yeah.
And when you start to see those parts of yourself that are automated like that, you finally get to go, it's just the mailman. I'm just going to chill out and let him go. But at first, the feeling's going to come up for
Right, right.
maybe a couple years.
But see, that's so on point because I think again, as we become more grown, it's we're not afraid of the truth
Yes.
of who we are. You know what I mean? Like before, like, oh, let's put that in the closet. I don't want them to know that I did this. And now it's like, you know what? Here I am. This podcast is so much about that, especially for me, because Lonnie will tell you I get in trouble every week for saying something, and my mom gets mad at me because I'm just like out here, telling my truth. And I would never have been able to do this like in my 20s, where I did have parents who were like, oh, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Now I'm just like, you know what, mom, don't listen. Like this is not
Yeah.
for you.
Especially in our culture, we were always, I know for me, I was brought up with a single mother, Tracy, and it's like it's just certain things you don't talk about. It's certain things you don't say, and when you put those type of restrictions on a young person, that helps you not find your passion.
That's so true.
And so you have to, unlearn all of that. Just
Right.
like what you were saying about your show, Prison, it's like these traumas that we have.
Mm-hmm.
We need to identify those traumas because, we want to live our best life. They say that finding your passion can involve self reflection,
Mm-hmm.
exploration, and trying new things. And as sometimes as we become grown ass women, we don't want to try new things. You know,
Right.
I try that sexual position, girl.
Yeah.
Try that different type of drink. Go on
Yeah.
that trip by yourself. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
because that allows you to have that self-reflection, So I want to go back. It's like, how hard was it when, coming up with the show Unprisoned to really, you know, not be ashamed of who Tracy McMillan was? How hard was that?
Yeah. Well, I feel like by the time I was doing Unprisoned, I'd gotten pretty used to it. I first started doing it when I first came into a Hollywood career.
Hmm.
Like, here's the thing though, I was 42 when I got my agent, right? So I
Wow.
was already grown ass. So I made
Wow.
this huge life transition, career transition in my 40s. So suddenly I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell all these Ivy League motherfuckers exactly who I am. Like, why not? Got nothing to lose. Because in the olden days, I would have been like, they went to Harvard, you know what I mean? Or
Right,
I
right.
can't tell them that, or I'm less than, or I had all these ideas. And what I started to see is I'm like, well, yeah, my dad was in prison and my mom was a prostitute and I've been married 3 times. And then of course they're like, this is the best meeting I've had all day. You know what I mean? Because they are used to hearing people like, I went to an Ivy adjacent. I got straight A's and then I got some
Right.
more A's. And now I've been doing everything right ever since. Like
Hmm.
that is the path of a lot of women, certainly coming up in my time, 17 years ago in the television business. These are ladies, God bless, who have never made a mistake.
According to them, I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, yes. And there's a lot of optics managing. But honestly, I met a lot of women. I'm like, damn, you've done every single thing right. And
Hmm.
like, what are you going to write about?
Right.
Like,
Hmm.
what, like, what are you going to write about? Your, whatever, your 20s, you know? So I don't, I'm not saying anything's bad. I'm saying when I brought the real me to it, I quickly got rewarded for that. So it was kind of
Absolutely.
easy.
Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
adversity is a huge part of being a writer, 100%. I always say I became a better writer after my first divorce, for sure. Like, I didn't, 'cause before then, you're right, I didn't have anything to talk about. What, going to UCLA and growing up in LA?
I think taking risk is a huge thing, Lonnie. You made a huge point. It's like I just am willing to take more risks than other people, probably because I have less to lose, or somehow I'm good at that. Like in the pandemic, so I met my husband on a plane, and I we started becoming pen pals for many months, and then the universe was like, "Hold my beer. I have a pandemic." You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then suddenly I was like, I came to Ohio sight unseen. Okay. In my mind, I was like, I'm just going to write a modern love column out of this. This is just
Right.
going to be my modern love where I met the man on the plane. And then I drove 750 miles from Minneapolis, where I was living in the pandemic, where my show is set, where I'm born and raised, to Columbus, Ohio, where I've never been. And I was like, such a great idea. And I'm like, yay, this is gonna be so fun. Oh, this is gonna be great. And then as the signs are going down, Columbus 129, Columbus 77, Columbus 42, I'm like, girl, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
But guess what? Now I'm married to him. And
Wow.
I wasn't married to him like I jumped off a building married to him. I was in a relationship with him so steady, so deliberate for 3.5 years. Now that is growth for me. Three and a half
Wow.
before we got married, I'm like, that was not anything I could have ever done.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
what was that for me? That was being willing to be in the unknown.
That's
The
right.
reason I was the victim of love bombers is because
Oh.
I couldn't have uncertainty. So, when the love bomber comes in and says, I got your whole everything, I was like, sign me up.
Mm-hmm.
Even though,
Mm-hmm.
bad idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, being able to live with risk, being able to live with uncertainty, this is how I think, because once you get in the realm of passion in that way, you almost need to deal with it by being extremely deliberate, very self reflective, super intentional,
Hmm.
like just excavating in a very methodical way. And I'm a Virgo, so that is kind of comes naturally to me. But so these are the things that I would say were the keys to me, really fulfilling like my truest thing.
You went outside your comfort zone.
by 1,000. Yeah.
It sounds like you have a lot of self-reflection. Did this all come to you, or was there a therapist? Was there a girlfriend?
No, there's been like 9 or 12 therapists. I've had as many therapists as I've had boyfriends or
Same,
husbands. No.
same.
But that is key. What I always want to say is like, guess what? Therapy works. Look at the
Yes.
life I'm living. Like
I mean,
most
you're living a
people,
great life.
yeah, most people with my background, they're like they're dead almost. You know what I mean? At 60,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't even get this far. Only
Mm-hmm.
1% of foster children graduate from college. Like, that's the other thing. Get out of odds. Odds are
Yes.
Yes.
bullshit. Odds are
Yes.
real when you're in them, but they are not. If you want a bigger thing, you're going to have to go past anything you currently know.
I tell people that all the time, especially about my career. I'm like, I'm where I am career wise because of my naivete. Because if I had done the math on how, against all odds, I would be here where I am 25 years later in this career, I would never have done it. So, yes, do not even pay attention to, the fact that this is crazy that we're here right now. Like,
Right.
someone's got to be here. Just do it. Just keep your nose down, do it. And like you said, follow your passion.
Another suggestion for the ladies out there, the grown ass women, is to try new things, take classes, explore new topics, set aside your comfort zone, seek guidance. Like we said, if you need a therapist, mentors, you are never too grown to be
Never.
able to get someone to help you in your situation.
Can I shout out mentors? I think that's mentors to me have been a huge, I don't know about you, Tracy, but like women in this business, they have a bad rap for like, kind of, there can only be one of us. There can only be one black woman. There can only be
Oh,
one
God.
black woman show. But I have had so many wonderful women who have mentored me, and I try to pay that forward by mentoring a lot of young writers. And to me, that's a passion of mine now because it's fulfilling to
great.
me. So yeah, I mean, do you feel that way? But from people who've helped you kind of navigate this world?
I'm like, I don't think that's been my experience, to be honest. I feel like God, I don't know. That's a great question because I've had different pieces to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've been a staff writer for like 16 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like the person you hire on your staff to talk about relationships and know shit about how people kind of work. And I feel like a lot of as a writer, it's been about having a niche and really being able to offer that to somebody. Part of what I say in this business is that nobody is going to do you a favor, and that's how it should be. Everybody's
Mm.
going to help themselves. So just
Yep.
be the entity that has got something that's going to help other people and make their dream come true. Like my thing was, I saw early on, oh, everybody wants something. Like literally everybody, every executive, every writer, every director, they all want something. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I'm going to offer them the something. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
walk in and go, what do you want? All right, let me be part of that dream. I also
No.
think like I used to go to Agape and Reverend Michael used to say, if you can think it up, that ain't it. Because you know, because
Yep.
whatever is your highest yet to be, you can't see it from right here. So don't think you're supposed to know.
Hmm.
You're
Yep.
not. That's okay. You just head in a direction.
That's
And
why every time I pitch something, I can't sell it because everybody that came up with it, I'm like, it's like every time I pitch something, they're like, yeah, we heard that one.
no,
What's a twist on
but
it?
it's true. A good idea is given to multiple people. It's given
Mm-hmm.
to 100 people, and not
Mm-hmm.
every person can carry the ball over the line. And then I just rest in that. I'm like, okay, that one wasn't for me, or
Right.
okay, that
Absolutely.
assignment's done, or
Mm-hmm.
okay, I accept that, and then I just know, all right, whatever it is next, I might not even see it from here.
To that point, you know, I think you're very authentic, obviously. So are you, Lonnie. And I'm a very unique kind of voice as well. And sometimes you get met with the resistance of the opposite of what you're saying, Lonnie, which is to me, it's like, oh, well, can you come in with like some urban quote unquote,
Yeah, some
comedy, and it's
sassy.
like some sassy black girls, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I'm
Hmm.
bougie as fuck, and I like grew up in LA, and like this is my voice, you know what I mean? And so I just reconcile that one day that voice is going to be ready to be heard.
That's
I
right.
can't give you a different voice. I'm not going to make up some like girl from Chicago who was like, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's not me. So when you're ready for my voice, I'll be here.
Yeah.
I have a question, Tracy. Do you practice what type of religion or faith or mindfulness
Yeah.
do you practice?
Yeah, I'm a big mindfulness person. I would say the closest thing to an organized religion that I've practiced is science of mind. So, but science of mind is like from the 30s, and it's really kind of like the basis of like manifesting or whatever. But it's more like, to me, God is all that there is. Like, I have a very strong faith. I always go back to, and I was raised in a Lutheran church. My main foster family was a Lutheran minister. My McMillan family is literally an entire long ass since like the 1860s. They founded a church in Midway, Alabama. Some McMillan has been the minister of that church all along. So I also believe in like gene expression. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
we're just being who we are. Like, so yeah, I have a very strong sense of God, but God to me is not an entity in the sky. It's what is highest.
Mm.
It's like, what is the organizing principle? That is God, you know? So my favorite idea of God is the alignment. And I see the alignment everywhere. Anytime I'm like, oh, I thought of that person. Oh, they called me. I'm like, good, I'm in the alignment, you know? Oh, I took that risk. Oh, it paid off. Good, I'm in the alignment. I can trust the thoughts that are coming into my brain from, up here, not from fear or, you know, the consciousness of like social, like, what are they doing? Or, what do they think? Or, what I mean? It's like there are levels of consciousness, and the highest one is God. And so I'm like, let me just plug in up there and try to see what's going on here, as like it gets noisy. There's a lot of static, there's a lot of bullshit, a lot of ego, a lot of people's fears, a lot of Trumpian type shit, you know what I mean? But then you look at like anything can happen anytime. And I mean, where we are politically is a perfect example. Like, who would have predicted that in 1 week
I
the
know.
whole fucking thing would change? You're like, that's God to me. God can do anything, anytime.
And
So,
and I just think that is a good way to sum up this whole conversation with you, Tracy, because of the fact that you know you are a great example of a grown ass woman who has been through trials and tribulations. You're a great example of how to overcome that. You're a great example of a person who has found their passion. And we really appreciate you taking
thank
time out
you.
because people can learn so much from you. And before we let you
Can
go,
I say one more thing that she's an example
no,
of?
you can't. No, go ahead, Erica.
See, this is the dynamic. That's my girl.
Mhm.
I think you're an example of you're not a product of your circumstances. There are people who
Exactly.
use their circumstances as an excuse, and you
Hmm.
have used them as something to propel you, which is so impressive to me. So,
My circumstances are Simone Biles's bouncy,
exact,
jumpy
hundred
heels
percent,
on right before she starts to go up.
absolutely. Do your dismount, girl.
That's
Dismount.
right.
I
Let's nail
love it.
the landing. Yeah.
Yeah, stick that landing. I love it, and to
I
your,
love it.
it's very impressive. So thank you for sharing your story with us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, though, we need to know more about Unprisoned for those that have not checked it out because it's a wonderful show.
Yeah. I mean, it's my life experiences, all those years my dad was in prison, 19 years, and I was in the TV business for a lot of them. I started thinking about story, and I started thinking about what is going to happen when he gets out of prison. How am I going to deal with that?
Mm.
And so, I just put it into a show. And I always sort of imagined that my dad would come live with me. He never did, probably because I have really good boundaries and it wouldn't have been appropriate, honestly. I had a young kid and, you know, I mean, I don't know. The way it unfolded, life is crazy. Do you know what I mean? When I say crazy, it's so unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. But so part of writing is to like control all the circumstances. That's my world. I made it up. You know what I mean? And I get to say what happens in that world. And I wanted to explore my dad getting out of prison in a way that I could control because clearly I wasn't going to be able to control it in real life. And I feel like that's what Unprisoned is all about. It's all about, how do I actually do it? How do we put a family back together? How do I forgive? How do I imagine something different for myself? How do I set myself free? You know?
I
Ah,
love it.
that is, you know what, Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And for our listeners, be sure to check out Unprisoned Season 2, now out on Hulu. And when we come back, we're going to get into the takeaway with me. This is Grown Ass Women Talking.
Okay, now it's time for Loni's takeaway. Loni, what did we learn today?
I need to learn how to work my camera because it zoomed halfway through the damn interview. So if y'all see this big ass face, it's because I don't know how to work the whole. And I didn't want to stop the interview with Tracy because she was just so good. We brought this up about finding your passion because I think as grown ass women, there are a lot of women I know that they're just living life. And when we say finding your passion, is more than just everyday living your life. It's about actually being able to wake up in the morning and be happy about something. And so, you know, in order to do that, you know, you have to follow certain steps, or, you know, understand the self-reflection is important. Mindfulness, or whatever your religious practice is important. Trying new things, stepping out of your comfort zone. Okay. Doing this podcast in the corner of my kitchenette is an example of finding my passion. Yes, the camera may not work all the time. Yes, the wig may not be all the way glued down. But you know what? I am doing this because I love our listeners. I love our followers. And that's what you do when you do your passion.
Me too, right?
I did not say that. But the you know, just make sure they understand when you're trying to find your passion. I'm trying to say it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be easy breezy. It's going to be ups and downs, but you keep going. You don't stop. You keep going until you have that feeling in your heart and say, you know what? I did okay.
Even if your camera zooms in too fast.
It came all the way in.
Like, I think I saw some nose hairs that need to be
I
plucked.
was like, what is happening?
It's like
you know what?
Close-up.
Any final words, Erica?
I love you.
I love you too,
I love
Erica.
your big head and all.
You know what? And we love you all out there. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. Look at this. It's doing it again. A Grown Ass Women Talking. Please follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at GAWT Pod. Thank you again to Tracy McMillan for joining us. Check out season 2 of Unprisoned now on Hulu. And it's really trying to tell me that my lace front is not glued down. This camera, seriously. We'll see you all next week with a new camera.
Hopefully.